Finn's life, certainty has always been a refuge. As a doctor, as a husband, as a man who has fought tirelessly to build stability out of chaos. He has learned to trust patterns, logic, and the quiet reassurance of routine. His marriage to Steffi has been the axis around which that stability turns. Forged through danger, loss, reconciliation, and the constant shadow cast by Sheila's presence. Finn has long believed that whatever storms surround them, the truth between him and Steffi remains unshakable. It is precisely that belief which makes the moment he sees her at the cafe feel less like suspicion, and more like a rupture in reality itself. The cafe is familiar, almost comfortingly so, a place Finn associates with predictable rhythms and harmless encounters. He does not arrive there expecting revelation. His glance toward Steffi is instinctive rather than deliberate, a reflex born of affection. At first, what he sees does not register as danger. Steffi is seated across from a man he does not recognize. Her posture slightly tense, her gestures controlled, her attention entirely focused on him. Finn tells himself that there are countless innocent explanations. Los Angeles is full of meetings that mean nothing, conversations that never cross into intimacy. Yet even as he reaches for reason, something inside him tightens, an uninvited awareness that the scene before him does not fit comfortably within the framework of his trust. The unease does not come from jealousy, but from dissonance. Finn knows Steffi's rhythms. The way she moves when she is relaxed. The way she holds herself when she is bracing for conflict. What he sees now is not ease, nor is it confrontation. It is something quieter, heavier, a carefulness that unsettles him more than anger ever could. He notices how Steffi lowers her voice. How she glances around the cafe not with paranoia, but with deliberation. This is not secrecy born of shame. It is secrecy born of necessity. And that distinction troubles him deeply. Finn does not intend to follow them when they leave. He tells himself he will return to his day, to his responsibilities, to the life that has always grounded him. But when Steffi rises and the man follows, when they step out together with an unspoken understanding of direction, Finn finds himself moving without conscious choice. Each step feels like a betrayal of the man he believes himself to be, yet stopping feels impossible. Curiosity has already given way to dread, and dread demands answers. The distance he keeps is careful, almost clinical, as though observation alone might protect him from what he fears he will see. The city seems suddenly sharper, louder, every sound amplified by the pounding of his heart. When they stop in front of the hotel, the world narrows to a single point of focus. Finn's breath catches, not because of certainty, but because of possibility. Hotels are symbols heavy with implication. Places where lives intersect briefly and consequences linger long after departures. Finn feels the ground shift beneath him as Steffi and the man step inside, disappearing from view. In that instant, Finn's first instinct is confrontation. The urge is visceral, fueled by pain, fear, and the desperate need to anchor himself in truth. He imagines pushing through the hotel doors, demanding explanations, forcing the moment into the open where it cannot fester in silence. Yet just as quickly, another force asserts itself, stronger and more enduring than anger. Love intervenes. The love Finn holds for Steffi is not fragile. It has been tested by violence, obsession, and betrayal before. It does not shatter instantly. Instead, it bends, absorbing the shock while seeking a way to survive it. Finn's thoughts spiral not toward accusation, but toward justification. He knows the weight Steffi carries. The relentless pressure of protecting her children, her parents, and the family she has fought so hard to preserve. Sheila's threat against Taylor is not abstract. It is immediate, personal, and terrifying. Finn understands how fear can drive people into corners where choices become desperate and secrecy feels safer than honesty. He begins constructing explanations, not because he is naive, but because believing in Steffi has always been an act of survival for him. He tells himself that this could be business, a covert negotiation, something Steffi feels she cannot share because it would place him in danger. He reminds himself that Steffi has always been willing to sacrifice her own peace to shield those she loves. Perhaps she believes silence is protection. Perhaps this meeting is about control, leverage, or an attempt to neutralize a threat before it escalates. The more Finn thinks, the more plausible these scenarios become, each one offering a fragile thread he can cling to instead of falling into despair. Yet rationalization does not erase the image burned into his mind. The hotel doors closing behind Steffi feel symbolic, sealing him out not just of a building, but of a truth he is no longer certain he knows. Finn remains outside, physically rooted to the spot, emotionally unraveling in slow motion. He is caught between two equally terrifying possibilities. That Steffi is betraying him, or that she is suffering alone and believes he cannot help her. Either truth demands action, yet both require patience he is not sure he possesses. As minutes stretch into something unrecognizable, Finn confronts a version of himself he has never fully met. He is not the confident protector or the unwavering partner in this moment. He is a man suspended between trust and self-respect, between loyalty and the need for clarity. He wonders whether love is defined by confrontation or restraint, by demanding answers or allowing space for truth to emerge on its own. The silence he chooses feels both noble and cowardly, an act of devotion that may later become his greatest regret. When Finn finally turns away from the hotel, the decision does not bring relief. Instead, it marks the beginning of a quiet fracture, one that cannot be ignored indefinitely. He carries the knowledge with him like a hidden wound, careful not to let it bleed into his interactions with Steffy or the children. Every smile becomes an effort, every moment of tenderness layered with unspoken questions. He listens more closely, watches more carefully, searching for signs that might confirm or dispel the fear he now carries. In the days that follow, Finn's internal conflict deepens. He becomes acutely aware of how easily love can coexist with doubt, how trust can survive even as certainty erodes. He does not see Steffy differently in terms of affection, but he begins to see the space between them, the places where silence has taken root. He wonders whether his choice to remain quiet is an act of faith or a postponement of inevitable pain. Above all, Finn is haunted by the possibility that Steffy's secrecy is born not of betrayal, but of fear. If she believes she must face danger alone to protect her family, then his silence becomes complicity in her isolation. The realization cuts deeper than jealousy ever could. Finn has always wanted to be Steffy's partner in every sense, not merely her shield but her refuge. The thought that she might not see him as that anymore unsettles him profoundly. The cafe, the hotel, the unknown man all become symbols rather than answers. Fragments of a truth that remains just out of reach. Finn knows the moment will come when silence is no longer sustainable. When love demands confrontation rather than endurance. Until then, he exists in a liminal space, suspended between belief and suspicion, carrying the weight of what he has seen and the heavier burden of what he has chosen not to say. In this fragile pause, Finn learns a truth no medical training could ever prepare him for. That the greatest pain does not always come from betrayal itself, but from the waiting, from the space where certainty dies and hope stubbornly refuses to follow. In the days following the secret meeting that Finn cannot erase from his mind, something subtle but unmistakable begins to change inside their home. It does not arrive as an argument or an explosion of emotion. It arrives as distance. Steffy's presence becomes intermittent, her warmth replaced by a careful restraint that feels deliberate rather than accidental. The house, once alive with shared routines and unspoken understanding, grows quiet in a way that unsettles Finn far more than open conflict ever could. Silence, he realizes, is not peaceful when it is built on avoidance. It is heavy, and it presses down on him with every unanswered question. Steffy moves through her days as if carrying an invisible weight. She leaves early, returns late, and when she is home, her attention seems fixed somewhere beyond Finn's reach. Conversations remain practical, efficient, stripped of intimacy. There is no space for reflection, no opening for vulnerability. When Finn attempts to draw closer, to ask gentle questions or suggest moments of connection, he is met with polite deflection. She insists she is tired, busy, overwhelmed, explanations that are reasonable enough to discourage confrontation yet persistent enough to form a pattern. Finn senses that what she is truly avoiding is not time, but truth. At first, Finn tells himself this is temporary. He clings to the belief that Steffy is simply under extraordinary pressure, that the lingering threat surrounding her family has forced her into survival mode. He knows how deeply she internalizes responsibility, how fiercely she believes it is her role to absorb danger so others do not have to. Yet as the days stretch on, reassurance begins to sound like self-deception. The warmth that once anchored their marriage does not return. Instead, Steffy's distance becomes more practiced, more controlled, as though she has consciously decided to keep a part of herself sealed away. Finn's attempts to bridge the gap grow increasingly careful. He chooses his words with precision, afraid that a single misstep might push her further away. He offers support without questions, affection without expectation, patience without complaint. Yet each gesture seems to vanish into the space between them, acknowledged but not received. He begins to feel as though he is reaching for someone standing just beyond a pane of glass. Visible but inaccessible. The more he tries to close the distance, the more aware he becomes of how far apart they have drifted. It is in these quiet moments of rejection that regret takes root. Finn replays the memory of the hotel with relentless clarity. The moment when he chose silence over confrontation. At the time, He believed restraint was an act of love, that giving Steffy space would protect their family from unnecessary harm. Now he wonders if that decision marked the beginning of this slow unraveling. He questions whether his silence granted Steffy permission to withdraw further, to continue carrying whatever burden she is hiding without trusting him enough to share it. The possibility that his inaction has contributed to her isolation becomes increasingly difficult to ignore. Finn begins to see his silence not as patience but as absence. By choosing not to speak, he removed himself from the narrative of Steffy's struggle, allowing secrets to deepen in the void where partnership should exist. He fears that in trying to protect their marriage, he may have inadvertently weakened it. The thought is agonizing, because it suggests that love alone is not enough to sustain connection when truth is withheld. Trust, he realizes, is not passive. It requires engagement, even when engagement risks pain. As Steffy grows more distant, Finn's internal conflict intensifies. He finds himself oscillating between faith and doubt, between the desire to believe in her love and the growing fear that something fundamental has shifted. He watches her closely, searching for reassurance in small gestures, only to feel crushed when those gestures fail to materialize. Each missed glance, each unanswered question, feels like confirmation of a truth he is not ready to face. Yet he refuses to abandon his belief in her, even as evidence of her withdrawal accumulates around him. What frightens Finn most is not the possibility of betrayal, but the erosion of intimacy. He can imagine surviving anger, even confrontation, but emotional absence feels like a slow extinction. He worries that Steffy has already begun the process of letting go, that her distance is not a response to external pressure but a conscious choice to retreat inward. The thought that she might be preparing herself for a future that does not include him leaves him unmoored, questioning the foundation of everything they have built together. Despite his growing anxiety, Finn remains trapped by his own restraint. Each time he considers confronting Steffy, he hesitates, haunted by the fear of making the wrong choice too late. He worries that forcing the conversation might shatter whatever fragile peace remains. That pushing her before she is ready will only confirm her belief that she must face her problems alone. And yet, the longer he waits, the more distant she becomes, creating a paradox that leaves him paralyzed. Silence no longer feels protective, it feels corrosive. Finn's faith in Steffy's love becomes both his refuge and his torment. He tells himself that love does not disappear overnight, that it survives stress, fear, and even mistakes. He reminds himself of everything they have endured together, the battles they have already won. Yet belief without communication begins to feel dangerously close to blindness. He wonders whether trusting without questioning is an act of devotion or a refusal to see reality. As it unfolds, the house itself begins to reflect his unease. Familiar spaces feel hollow, stripped of the emotional resonance they once held. Finn finds himself lingering in doorways, listening for signs of Steffy's presence, only to be met with silence. Even when she is home, the distance between them is palpable, as though an invisible barrier has been erected that neither of them knows how to dismantle. He longs for an argument, a confrontation, anything that would acknowledge the fracture between them instead of allowing it to widen unnoticed. As regret deepens, Finn confronts an uncomfortable truth about himself. In choosing silence, he prioritized stability over honesty, harmony over vulnerability. He believed that love meant enduring uncertainty without complaint, but he now sees how that belief has cost him connection. He fears that by refusing to assert his need for truth, he has allowed Steffy to believe she is alone in whatever she is facing. The realization is devastating, because it suggests that his silence may not have protected her at all. It may have abandoned her. Still, Finn cannot bring himself to let go of hope. Even as doubt gnaws at him, he clings to the idea that Steffy's distance is temporary, that once the pressure lifts, she will find her way back to him. He tells himself that love is resilient, that it can survive periods of withdrawal and misunderstanding. Yet hope without action feels increasingly fragile, stretched thin by the weight of unspoken truths. In the quiet hours of the night, Finn lies awake, replaying every moment, every decision, every opportunity he allowed to pass. He wonders whether love demands courage rather than patience, whether protecting a relationship sometimes means risking it. The question haunts him because he knows that time is no longer neutral. With each passing day, the silence grows heavier, and the distance between them feels less like a pause and more like a direction. Finn stands at the edge of a realization he can no longer avoid. That love, when left unspoken, can become indistinguishable from loss. His blind faith in Steffy's devotion has sustained him, but it has also delayed a reckoning that now feels inevitable. He does not yet know whether confronting the truth will bring healing or heartbreak. He only knows that continuing in silence is slowly erasing the marriage he is trying so desperately to protect. In this fragile space between hope and fear, Finn begins to understand that silence is not a neutral choice. It shapes outcomes as powerfully as words ever could. And as Steffy continues to drift further away, he is forced to confront the possibility that love, no matter how deep, cannot survive indefinitely without the courage.